He never stopped waiting. That's the part nobody understands. There's a guy right now, stable job, 2 kids, a mortgage that owns him more than he owns it, who just blew his entire weekend underneath a 1993 Toyota Supra that hasn't fired up on its own since the early 2000s. He missed sleep. He missed his kids' Saturday game. His wife has stopped asking where the money goes. And here's the thing that'll mess with your head. He is the most at peace he has felt in years. You clicked on this video because somewhere underneath everything life has piled on top of you, you already know exactly what that feeling is. That kid who never stopped waiting? That's you. And what's actually behind this isn't a midlife crisis. It isn't irresponsibility. It's something your brain locked in when you were 9 years old. And today, we're going to break down exactly why it never left. Most people see a millennial dropping $20, $30, sometimes $50,000 into a beat-up Mazda RX-7, and the reaction is always the same. Dude, just buy something sensible. Get a crossover. Act your age. And that assumption is exactly what we need to destroy right now because it completely misses what's actually happening. This isn't about the car. It was never about the car. The guys hunting down a Mitsubishi Eclipse GST or a Nissan Skyline GTR aren't confused about finances. They aren't having a breakdown. They are responding to something that got hardwired into them during a specific window of childhood that the human brain simply does not let go of, no matter how many years pass, no matter how many responsibilities stack up. The waiting never stopped. It just went underground.
Here's the first layer. Go back to 1994. You're 10 years old. You've got a Road and Track magazine with a Supra on the cover taped to your bedroom wall, right next to your Need for Speed poster. Saturday morning cartoons end, and there's a car on screen that doesn't just move, it roars. It commands the frame. It means something. The Acura NSX showed up in films and TV shows during this era, not as a background prop, but as a personality. The people behind the wheel of these machines were the ones who had figured something out that everyone else was still chasing. Your 10-year-old brain didn't just register that car as cool. It filed it under who I am supposed to become. Developmental psychology is clear on this. The window between ages 8 and 13 is when emotional memories don't just get recorded, they get anchored into identity. Whatever produces a strong enough emotional charge during that window doesn't fade the way ordinary memories do. It calcifies. It becomes a reference point the nervous system returns to for decades. That car became part of the blueprint of your future self, and that blueprint never got thrown away. He never stopped waiting, because the brain wouldn't let him. But here's what you probably never connected, and this is where it gets really interesting. TV and films planted the seed, but it was a PlayStation controller that made it feel like yours. When Gran Turismo dropped in 1997, it didn't hand kids a racing game, it handed them a garage. For the first time ever, a 12-year-old could actually own a Supra. Buy it, tune it, rebuild the engine, swap the tires, drive it until every gear shift lived in muscle memory. The game presented every single spec with the kind of seriousness you'd give a historical record. Horsepower figures, torque curves, recorded engine sounds pulled from the real machines. These weren't just game stats. They were proof that these cars deserved reverence. And neuroscience research on simulated experience is clear that the brain does not cleanly separate doing something from deeply experiencing it. The emotional bond that built up over hundreds of hours in a virtual garage was neurologically real. That RX-7 you tuned over and over on a screen, your brain formed an actual relationship with it. And real relationships don't dissolve just because the console gets turned off. He never stopped waiting. The game just made the waiting feel even more specific. So now you've got an entire generation with these cars woven into the core of their identity. And then life shows up and starts taking things away. Student loans arrive before the first real paycheck does. Then 2008 hits and wipes out the economic foundation right when millennials are just trying to get started.
The job that was supposed to be the launch pad barely keeps the lights on. The Supra stays a poster on a wall that eventually gets taken down during a move. The magazine collection gets boxed up and forgotten in a storage unit. But the dream doesn't die. That's the part that surprises people. Research in goal psychology is consistent on this. Goals that are tied to identity don't weaken when they get delayed. They accumulate weight. Every year that passes without resolution adds another layer of pressure. The brain keeps that file flagged as unfinished business. The car stopped being a want and became something closer to an unhealed wound, a version of yourself that kept getting pushed back, deferred, told to wait just a little longer. He never stopped waiting. Life just kept making him. And now here's the layer that almost nobody talks about, and it might be the most important one. Millennials are the last generation that grew up fully in the physical world before digital life absorbed everything.
The cars they are chasing, the A80 Supra, the FD RX-7, the third-gen Eclipse, were engineered in an era when driving was still a raw, unfiltered conversation between a human body and a machine. No systems correcting your inputs, no touchscreen competing for your attention. You felt the road through your hands. You heard the engine answer your right foot in real time. For a generation that now runs almost every part of its life through a screen, that works, connects, shops, and even relaxes through glass and code, sitting inside a car built before all of that isn't just nostalgic, it's a return to something that felt real in a way that increasingly little does. He never stopped waiting for that feeling, because nothing else ever fully replaced it. This is why the moment of finally getting the car doesn't just feel good, it breaks people open in a way they weren't prepared for. There are videos everywhere of grown men standing in driveways, keys in hand, completely falling apart, and every single comment section underneath is filled with people who understand exactly why without needing it explained. It isn't about the vehicle. It's about a loop that just closed after 30 years. Psychologist Dan McAdams spent his career studying how people construct the narrative of their own lives, and his research lands on the same truth every time. Humans need the story of who they are to feel whole. When a meaningful chapter gets cut off before it's finished, the psyche doesn't accept the ending. It keeps returning to that unfinished page, waiting. Restoring the childhood dream car is how a generation that got economically knocked sideways in its 20s finally completes a chapter that should have been written a long time ago. He never stopped waiting, and the moment those keys land in his hand, the wait is finally over. If this video hit somewhere real, if you caught yourself thinking about a specific car you never fully let go of, drop its name in the comments right now. I guarantee you are not the only one in there. And if you know someone buried in a garage project that the people around them don't quite get, send them this. Sometimes all a person needs is for someone to tell them what you're doing makes complete sense. You're not crazy. You're not irresponsible. You never stopped waiting, and you were right not to.